Pokemon, Kaiju, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. Steven here, and I am bringing you another Digimon figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Digivolving Spirits Atlur Kabuterimon. Or, I guess you would prefer Mega Kabuterimon? Yeah, the product name is Atlur Kabuterimon, and it also digivolves into Tentomon. So that's what we are going to be going with today for the review. As you may or may not be aware, this is the 6th entry into the Digivolving Spirits line, and a lot of folks are happy with this one simply because even if you don't like Tentomon, this one looks great, fully digivolved and transformed. But is it going to be worth the price? It's pretty hefty, but we do have die-cast. That makes it worth it, right? Let's take a look to see whether or not this big bug's worth adding into your collection. This review is June 2019's Patron's Pick. That's right, my patrons over on Patreon voted, and this is the review they wanted to see this month. So for everyone who took part in that poll, thank you so much. July 2019's vote is going to come up relatively soon, so be sure to head on over there as soon as you can to check it out. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Now let's get on to the review. So this is kinda sorta technically almost my first Transformer review. Yeah, go ahead, stone me to death. It's not a Transformer. Anyway, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to run it like my normal reviews where I do sculpt and paint, the articulation, the accessories, and so forth. And I'm going to do it for both forms, for Atlur Kabuterimon and Tentomon at the same time, one after the other. And then I'm going to show you, though I bumble through it, how to digivolve this guy, okay? Or de-digivolve. Yeah. Anyway, out of the box, you get Atlur Kabuterimon here, and I do have to say, like I mentioned in the intro, this form looks great in action figure format. Even if the articulation is going to be a little bit on the side, they at least managed to get the looks down for the most part. Now, for this review, I literally shot it right after I opened it up out of the box, so all the quality control issues that you are going to be seeing are, well, literally within the first 10 minutes of me opening this figure up. Now, that is not to say that the whole thing is negative. There are a lot of positives here. The die cast that is used for this figure, which according to the instructions includes die cast for the horn, the chest on Atlur Kabuterimon, and, well, that's unfortunately kind of looking like that's it. Yay. Anyway, it's actually blended in really, really well because normally you're going to have a slight different shade of whatever color the die cast is going to be, and that's not the case here. However, the horn on mine actually has a little bit of bubbling in the paint and one scratch mark right out of taking it out of the box, which isn't that great. However, for the rest of the figure, the paint is done relatively well, with only a small issue on the torso being some red streaking, which actually looks like it's more so from a thinned out paint application as opposed to any sort of damage. Nevertheless, we do have some muscular sculpt marks on Atlur Kabuterimon here. The teeth are rather ferocious, and the claws are very, very feral. We do also have that mysterious, blue orb on the back of Atlur Kabuterimon on the top of the dome, and it is very, very well executed. In this form, the kibble is also very well hidden, so you're not going to have a huge tell if this were to be the only thing on your shelf that it can transform. Aside from the fact that some of the hands actually have Tentomon's design hidden in them. So overall, this figure in this form is looking great. Now when we take a look at Tentomon as well, we do have an overall nice looking figure. However, as you see in the transformation section, unfortunately the kibble for Atlur Kabuterimon is hidden up under the shell of Tentomon, and unfortunately it isn't a clean close. No matter how hard I tried, there is literally a little bump on the shell which collides in with the horn of Atlur Kabuterimon, preventing a clean close. So if you're someone who actually has to have everything 100% perfect, no compromise there, then unfortunately this won't be it for you. However, when we flip it back to sculpt and paint for Tentomon, those parts actually do look really nice, but there is one big drawback here, which isn't necessarily as apparent on Atlur Kabuterimon. Now, when we're taking a look at the head for Tentomon, it does look great. The compound eye effect is stunning. This looks fantastic. If you throw it back to the SH Monster Arts line where we have the likes of Mothra, this is a very similar comparison. Where there is a humongous step back, though, is that on the arms, or the pincers, whatever you would prefer to call them, on Tentomon, there is some paint scuffing right out of the box. For me, around the spot where one swivel would be for the arms, but I didn't even move them when this appeared. So definitely be careful with moving this figure around and try not to rub joints and plastic up against one another. Surprisingly, for whatever reason, when taking a look at the instructions for this guy, there's no warning that all parts are painted from what I can see. So, yeah, very odd they left that out here. But anyway, for Tentomon, he does look rather nice. Nothing too bad. Just wish they could have cleaned up the kibble a little bit. All right, now time to talk about the articulation. And for each of the forms, what I'd like to do is talk about the organic points of articulation, or the stuff that would move if this is a fluid figure. So for an example, this here, no, that's not a point of articulation. Okay. So what do we have? Well, the jaw opens and closes on a hinge, just like this. Now for the head, kind of odd, because it doesn't have one true, let's say, neck joint, because it works on the hinge that's down here for the transformation aspect, and we can close the gap organically by about that much. So if you look at it from this angle, it's okay. From the side, not so much. Now when we get him to look up, he can do that. So yeah, that's okay. So there's the hinge system here that helps to sort of fudge the neck articulation. Now for this set of arms at the shoulders, they plug in on a ball joint, so this way we can move them around really nice. Pretty simple and straightforward. And then there's a little disc in here where that ball joint plugs in, so this way we have a little bit of a hinge movement up and down on both arms. So that's pretty cool. Now for the bicep here, we have a ball joint, so this way we can move the arms around in ball joint fashion, along with a double hinge elbow. That's pretty cool. We have ball joint wrists on the little buggy bug hands. For the second set of arms where their shoulder is, we do have a ball joint with pretty limited movement. There's no other hinge or swivel anywhere else to be found except for the double hinged elbows. And then, oddly enough, we have a ball joint here down in the forearm. And that's about it for that. No articulation really in the torso, except we can kind of move the shell, but it's not really that organic. Now, when we talk about the legs here, we do have a little bit of a pivot here. I guess that would technically be a bit of a swivel. Doesn't look like they're pull-down hips of any kind, but they are on ball joints that have a little cutaway in them, so this way you can move the legs around like that and like that as well. And since they do have a little bit of a pivot, kind of like pull-down hips, you get a little bit more movement there. We do have thigh swivels where the hip joint plugs in, so this way we can spin the legs around. And then we have a couple of hinges around the knee area. And then for the ankles, we have a hinge and a ball joint as well. So pretty nice movement there. That ends it all with a couple of toe hinges. So overall for this form, good articulation for some fun poses. All right, now this form, Tentomon's articulation, what do we have? Well, the head plugs into the neck on a ball joint, so this way we can move it around just a little bit. Down about that far, thanks to a hinge here to help with transformation. But no, this is not a good gap. Or, I'm sorry, Digivolution, if that's what you really need. So the antenna here, they're actually on swivels. So you can spin them all the way around, and they're made of a nice, softer plastic, so they have a little bit of give if you need them to be moved in one way or another. Now, for these arms, they are on ball joints at the shoulders, and they also have a little hinge or a swivel, whatever you would prefer to call those, a little disc that allows you to move them around up and down like that. Unfortunately, that's about the extent of the range of movement. We do have hinges at the elbows along with the swivel that's hidden in there, so this way we can move the arms around just like this. And then the, hook here basically just swivels around as well. Now, do be careful. This was actually here prior to me actually moving any part of the limbs of Tentomon. Yeah, you're going to scrape up the paint a bit, so do be careful on that. These arms here are left over from Atlur Kabuterimon, so do keep in mind that they're just going to be the ones without the bicep swivel, okay? So you just have Ball jointed shoulder, we have a double elbow hinge, and then we have a ball joint in the forearm that you can spin them around at. Then we do have the legs. The hips are going to be a ball joint, so this way we can move them like that. Move them out about that far. We do have a similar knee structure as we do in the elbows, so we do have a hinge, and then we have a swivel there, and then a swivel down here. Right down here for these claws, we do have a little bit of articulation, but that's going to be helpful more so in transforming, and you'll be seeing that in just a little bit. Now we do have the shell here, and that just opens and closes to reveal all the fun little kibbly bits on the inside, but that's not really the point of articulation that I want to show you, because I wouldn't really even consider that a point of articulation at all, just like I mentioned. But we do have the shell here, which is actually kind of little difficult to do this safely, I feel, but you can open up the wings, and there you go. You can zoom and zoom and reveal all the kibbly bits. So overall for articulation for this form, Tentomon, yeah, it's okay. Just really wish there was a bicep swivel here or a cut in the sculpt somewhere up there, so this way we would have better range of movement for the arms, and I just wish the paint was better applied. Yeah, it's not very good. It's a shame. Now for accessories, and to be honest with you folks, they're pretty simple and straightforward. We get one little oval-like base, and then we get two little pieces of plastic that either support Atlur Kabuterimon by his package, or we get another piece of plastic that kind of just gets stuck up Tentomon's butt. And both are okay. For Atlur Kabuterimon, he's kind of doing a little bit of a squat, which doesn't necessarily look the best, but for Tentomon, yeah, it's a very low center of gravity. Not able to really get up and be a display piece at all if you're using the stand. But thankfully for both of them, it is optional, not necessarily a requirement. You're just going to have to work your balancing game. Now comes the point in the video that I was always afraid of when doing these, which is why I really don't review Transformers too much. I did the Chogokin Mechagodzilla. Yeah, so hopefully this goes over well. This is just going to be a straightforward playthrough of me transforming and going through all of the steps and the instructions for Atlur Kabuterimon over to Tentomon. Since this is my first time really doing this, please give me some constructive feedback for what you think could be done better, what could be done worse, or maybe should this section even be included? I don't know. But anyway, I go over all of the steps that you need to do for the transformation, and not a whole lot else. So, enjoy. Alrighty, now we're going to go ahead right on into the size comparison for this figures. Yeah, they tend to have different sizes depending on how you transform them, so I did a size comparison for both forms. So as you can see here, they do blend in relatively well with general action figures, but depending on what Digimon figures you're going to have that you want to display them with, be mindful, these both will be rather large. So, buy now, skip, or wait for that good old-fashioned deal. Overall, Atlur Kabuterimon is very nice because the sculpted details are great for this figure in either form. For Mega Kabuterimon, we do have the horn, which looks great. The raw muscles on it are fantastically sculpted. The compound eyes on Tentomon are amazing as well. But we do have a couple of steps back, like I made mention, with some of the dings here and there for paint. And the articulation, yes, it is not necessarily meant to be something like an SH Figuarts Goku, but at the same time, there are a couple of small points, or they could just move a ball joint, like on Tentomon's little arms, that would make this overall better. This is not a bad buy by any purchase, but at the same time, try to save a couple of bucks. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another SDR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.